Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's watch list for the week of January 11th. Before we get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and the bio sections on social media. Just taking a quick peek at the economic calendar, we have Powell speaking on Thursday at 1:30 p.m. so keep an eye out for that. Don't really see too much else on the economic calendar for this week. Let's see. I have the bullish side and the bearish side already set to go. FedEx is the first one I have up. Now, FedEx is the RSI is really low on the daily. I mean, it's down into the I think it's like 20s on the daily, and I mean, if you look at the weekly right here on the right, I mean, the weekly has just had a tear because of Christmas and the COVID-19. So I mean, this just now that Christmas is over with, people are still going to need FedEx and shipping for stay at home, because a lot of places are on the stay at home orders and stuff like that. So people are going to go to flock to Amazon and Walmart, any other online realtors, and they're going to need shipping like UPS, FedEx, and stuff like that. So I would imagine we're going to have a dead cat bounce rate sooner or later on FedEx. So I mean, you get to this little area right here, the 242, 240. Now the one thing I wanted to look at before I is I believe FedEx I was looking at on Friday. FedEx says the 200 EMA down at 222, right in this area right here, which would make sense. 222 on the weekly would be right close to the bottom Kellner channel on the weekly, so it is possible that it could keep dropping, but I would look for a dead cat bounce on FedEx. You know, if it does manage to get over 246 for a push to 250 to 255, and if it can manage to get over the 260 level, it's probably gonna be a good signal for a reversal. So over 260, it could really pop. So definitely be looking at that. Oops, wrong window. Now McDonald's is another one I'm looking at. I mean, on the daily, it's curling up and it's getting over this 216 area. I mean, it closed at, let's see what it closed at, 215.87. So over 216, over 217, it's got room to pop. So I would definitely watch it for a breakout. And as you can see on the weekly, it's just been sitting above the middle Kellner channel on the weekly, just consolidating. So it could have a strong move over 217 for push to 220 to even the 223 to 225 area. So I've definitely watched McDonald's for a reversal. Now SRPT got smashed on news on Friday, and we'll be definitely watching it tomorrow. As you can see on the weekly, anytime it gets below this $80 range or gets in the low 80s, it just has a violent reversal. So this could be a nice little swing play on SRPT, but also going to come into play is the 3-day rule that funds need to settle and stuff like that. So it could stay choppy and bleed a little bit the next day or two before it starts to reverse on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'm going to start watching it tomorrow and see what happens with that. And Baba had a strong day on Friday, and you know, if it does manage to get over this let's see, 239 area, it's probably going to push to the 245, then make a gap fill into the 255 260 area, and from that it's got room to, you know, 270. It's got a gap fill right here at 275, then you get the big one at 280. So it's gonna, I mean, if it does manage to get to 280, I don't imagine it's gonna fill the gap immediately. It's probably gonna pull back. By that point in time, it's gonna be pretty extended on the hourly, and we'll probably need to pull back a tiny bit. So that was one I'll be watching. Now I have Grub on there too. You know, Grub is just, you know, on the weekly, and you look at it right here, you get a big inverted head and shoulders. You get the left shoulder, the head and the right shoulder. If it does manage to get over, let's see, 84, well, actually it closed 84, 82, but if it gets over like 83 and push to 84, and it does manage to get over 85, it could take off after if it gets over 85. So that'll be a nice little neckline. Right? I mean, you can draw, no matter where you go, you can draw the neckline here, or you can draw it here. It's not going to be perfect, but it does get over 85. It's probably going to shoot to 100. So Grubhub is definitely one to watch. Now SLPK is another one that's starting to curl in the daily and starting to get a little more momentum. So it does manage to get over this 166 area. It's probably going to push to 170 and then get into this 173 to 175 area. Get a lot of resistance right in here, right in this 173, 175 area. So it does manage to get through that. It's going to go to 180, 185. So, and that is where you're going to have some resistance right there. So because it didn't fill a gap, but it made through broke through gap resistance right here, and it just stalled out in the 185s. So if it does manage to get to 185, it's going to have some challenges right there. So definitely watch for that. Now on the bearish side, I know everyone's probably talking about Twitter and Facebook and bearish, but how many times have we seen bad news on Facebook and bad news on Google and stuff like that for them just to go? So I'm not going to put too much weight into it. I mean, I'll probably play it if it does gap down or more news comes out. I'll probably touch it, but Target's what I'm watching. I mean, it's just, you look at the hourly, anytime it gets far away from this RCT trend line, it comes back down to touch it. Like right here, it got up, consolidated, and dropped. Right here, it's up, it's probably going to come back. Right here, it came up. Right here, it came up. It's going to just is a gravitational line right here, and it's going to end up pulling it back. So I would watch it underneath this 191 for push to 187 down to 185. Then you get this 181 level right here, so it probably will bounce off from that or try to hold right there. So Target's got to let some air out. I mean, look at the RSI on the daily. The RSI on the daily is over 82, and every time it gets into this high 80s or in these overbought conditions, it likes to pull back, like I showed you on the RCT trend line right there. It's overbought right there. It's overbought. You can see it kind of did a divergence right there, overbought, and right here it's just that same thing's probably going to end up happening. So Target be one to watch tomorrow. Roku just keeps going and going and going, and then it stalled at 400. Maybe that's the magic number it was looking for, was that 400 level, and once it got there, it just stalled out and just had trouble. But it did close at 3. Okay, this is on the hourly. This is 399.15 over here. This is 399.13. I gotta check on stock charts to see what the actual official close is. 399.13. So this is the actual close. So I would watch it under 393 for a gap fill down to the 380. And it does fill that. I mean, it's got room down to 360, but as you can see right here, it got overextended. It came back and tested the RCT trend line right here. That's what I expect Target to do, and I expect this to do the same thing. You have 3 big green candles right here, 3 white soldiers, and usually the next candle is going to be red. Usually, doesn't mean it will be. Just statistically, it is. So I'll be watching Roku for a pullback. Now Roku has a habit of chopping on Fridays and having strong Monday moves, so because options will be so expensive tomorrow that it'll probably have a big move tomorrow. So just have to see what happens with that. Now BA had more issues over the weekend with another plane crash, I believe, if I remember correctly. I have so much going in my head, I just can't remember, but I believe there was another issue with the Boeing aircraft. So Boeing is probably going to end up going back down and filling the gap into the 180s, because you get a gap right down here at 160. It does manage to get below this 208 level. Let's get a gap fill down here in the 204 area, and you get support right down here at 202-ish. And it does manage to break this 202 level. You get gaps down here in the 190s, and you get this big gap right here to fill. But if it does manage to drop, it's probably going to hold this 180 level. It's probably not going to fill a gap unless there's really, really bad news or more lockdowns or whatever, something that will hurt the industry and just make it tank. So that's what I'll be watching for too. Disney is another one. I mean, Disney is the same thing I've been talking about with Target and Roku. It gets far away from the RC10 trend line and it gets sucked to it. And I did it here and it's here and up here. It's starting to look a little more toppy over here. So, I mean, underneath the 177 for a push down to 175, then you get this big level in the 172 area, then this 169 area. So this whole 170 area right in here is pretty big area, and if it does manage to get below the 172 and 168, it's got a big gap right here to fill. So, and maybe it will fill it this week. We'll have to see what happens, but definitely watching that. Now Tesla, everyone's just gonna go bonkers over Tesla, and just keeps going up and up and up, and it has been doing that, but it's gonna let some air out eventually. I mean, I don't know how much more extended it could be, and I mean the RSI is just getting ridiculous. The daily is well over 80. I'll have to see what the actual number is. It's hard to see on TOS. It's 83.85. So I would look for a push underneath 855 for a gap fill down to the 815s. The 800 would be a big psychological level. It does manage to break that. I mean, it's got gaps to fill in the 746 area, and you got, I mean, it's got room down to 650 if it ever really don't want to pick up speed and it really dump. But I just, buying Tesla at 880 is just, I don't like it, and I think that it's due for a pullback, and we'll have to see what happens with Tesla. So I'll be watching it for any weakness. Baidu is another one. Same thing, just Baidu's just gone. You get the RCT trend line pointing down and made its trend reversal right here on the weekly when it cleared the 148, and that was a big level, and it's gone up, you know, 100 points in a few weeks, and to me that seems pretty extended. And then you got the a divergence on the RSI right here and the histogram. So I'll be watching Baidu for a reversal, and I know they're getting into electric cars and stuff like that, so we'll have to see if that has any bearing on the stock price or whatever. But I would definitely watch it underneath the 235 area for a push to 230 to 220. Then you get a gap fill into to 210 and support here at the 207 area. Then probably that you get this whole area right around the 200 bucks. 204 to 200 area is a big area, so we'll have to see if it pulls back. But I mean, it's gotten so disconnected from this RCT trend line, which is pointing up on the daily but pointing down on the weekly. But it did make its reversal on the weekly, so I would definitely go based on the RCT trend line on the daily, not the weekly, because I highly doubt that you're gonna see Baidu under 100 again. And if you do, buy it with both hands, go all in on shares. So yes, but I would definitely think that, you know, it's got a possibility of getting down to the 200 area if there's a significant pullback on that. So that is going to be it for the ones I'm watching. I don't want to put too many stocks on the list. I put the ones I'm watching the most, and any news that comes out or any other drama or stuff that comes out during the week, I'll adjust to my plan accordingly and trade to that. So that's going to be it. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and you like the video, because it definitely helps me when you do like the video. And thank you for watching.